First up on the show, all eyes are on a new round of Gaza ceasefire talks which are underway in the Qatari capital Doha. According to reports, Israel's delegation includes the spy chief David Bernier, head of the domestic security service Ronen Bar, and the military's hostages chief Nitzan Alon. On the American side, CIA Director Bill Burns and the U.S. Middle East envoy Brett McGurk represent Washington. Now, the talks have been convened by the Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani in the presence of Egypt's intelligence chief Abbas Kamel. Hamas officials have not joined the talks. However, mediators have planned to consult with Hamas's Doha-based negotiating team after the meeting. So far, both Israel and Hamas have each blamed the other for the failure to reach a deal. But in the run-up to the ongoing meetings, neither side appeared to rule out an agreement. Families of Israeli hostages and other demonstrators protested outside the headquarters of Netanyahu's Likud party in Tel Aviv, calling for an immediate deal. The protesters held pictures of the deceased hostages whose bodies are being held by Hamas in Gaza, calling on the government to secure a deal before it's too late for those who are still alive.
We need another hostage deal. Hostages get released via a hostage deal and not while fire is ensuing. We need a ceasefire to get them all back. We cannot trust the Israeli government anymore. It has been torpedoing any effort to get a deal for the past 10 months.
Furthermore, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denied a report that he had spoken with Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump about the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release talks. The report in Axios cited two U.S. sources. One source said Trump's call was intended to encourage Netanyahu to take the deal, but stressed he did not know if this is indeed what the former president told Netanyahu. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has released footage of its troops operating in the Gaza Strip. In Rafah, it said the troops have been battling Hamas militants and uncovered a tunnel shaft. IDF officials said operations are underway in Khan Yunis and in central Gaza Strip as well. Now, an Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp, meanwhile, in West Bank has killed 2 Palestinians, including a former prisoner released in November. According to Hamas-run Health Ministry, the death toll in Gaza in the war has now surpassed 40,000. Earlier, Israeli Defense Forces issued a new evacuation order for Palestinians in Khan Yunis following recent rocket attacks. The announcement called for Palestinians in Khan Yunis suburb of Al-Aqara to evacuate to the Israeli-designated humanitarian zone. On the northern front, Israeli military says it continues to thwart an offensive from the Iran-backed Hezbollah group. In a video released on X, Israeli air defense fighters claimed to have successfully intercepted an unmanned aircraft that crossed the territory of Lebanon, following the alerts that were activated during the night in the western Galilee region. On Wednesday, Hezbollah announced the deaths of 2 of its fighters in Israeli strikes in Lebanon's south. With tensions between Hezbollah and Israel escalating, hospitals in Lebanon have been built up and prepared medical supplies and capacity, with their facilities being divided into red, green and grey zones to receive casualties. And WION's correspondent Jody Cohen spoke to the former advisor at the Prime Minister's office in Israel, Ruthie Blum, about Netanyahu's stance on the ceasefire deal and what are the chances of Hamas accepting it.
I'm with Ruthie Bloom, a columnist and podcast host at JNS and a former advisor at the Prime Minister's office. Ruthie, we've seen a lot of criticism of Prime Minister Netanyahu, both within Israel and outside of Israel, with his demands for the negotiations. Do you see him agreeing to a deal?
Well, I see him agreeing to a potential deal, but nothing that is being discussed now. The conditions that he has set, they're already very generous, but there's no question that Hamas has rejected them, and That's why I don't see there being a deal, certainly not right now, even though they're negotiating in Doha.
So some people are saying that this could be the last window of opportunity that we'll see for a deal between Hamas and Israel. Do you see both sides coming to an agreement and compromising?
Absolutely not, and I see no window. The idea that somehow there's a window open and it's closing is ridiculous. And that is just a propaganda from the White House and from Egypt and from Qatar. So, there's no window. Hamas hasn't agreed to anything except remaining in power. It hasn't even agreed to tell us how many hostages are alive.
Right, Jody also spoke with some of the residents of Tel Aviv about the importance of the peace talks and the hostage deal going through.
Are you optimistic that a deal will be reached between Hamas and Israel?
I am a little bit optimistic, but I have to be hopeful because they have to come home. And it seems to be the last chance that we will have them here back, as many of them as we can have, safe and sound, as much as it can be.
How do you feel about the proposed hostage truce deal that they're negotiating on today?
There's pros and cons to everything, so I'm not quite sure. There's only one solution that will finalize this whole situation, so I'm not quite sure whether the deal would be the end of the situation.
So do you feel that there could be a temporary deal and then fighting perhaps could resume?
Not sure, but it's unfortunate that a lot of the answers of any side could be fighting, and there's just people that want to live calmly.
I'm with Raz, who set up a cafe in Tel Aviv run by evacuees and supporting evacuated families. Raz, if a hostage truce deal is agreed, do you think people from your community would feel safe going back to the Gaza envelope?
I think all of my community in Nativa Astara, it's the closest village to Gaza Strip. All of us want to come back, all of us miss the community, and we want to be together. But I think the most important thing before that we need to come home is to bring the hostages back. It's the important thing, and we will wait. I can say about myself that I will wait how long that it take, but first we need to bring the hostages back.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.